Hello and welcome back to some World of Tanks. Today we're going to be taking a look at the maneuvers reward tanks. I'm going to tell you what I think the best choices are going to be so you can put your time and your effort into the best possible tank for you. So let's get right into it. Well, here is the 116F3. This tank is one of the reward tanks that you can take, and it is the Chinese heavy tank. It's pretty interesting, and it is definitely one of the newer vehicles available to take. It is actually the newest vehicle available. However, would I recommend you take it? No. To put it simply and to put it bluntly, this tank is probably the worst one available. If you know this is your first event that you've played this maneuvers, or you're going to be participating through the auction and you don't have any of the other tanks, please don't get this tank. However, if you've played many events and you have all but, one or two tanks to pick up, I don't know, maybe this tank might fit your playstyle, but overall, it's just not a good tank statistically. Its statistics are just very weak. It's got this kind of auto reloader. It's pretty poor. Its accuracy is terrible. It's not very quick. Its armor model is pretty poor. Overall, definitely would not advise picking this one up. But, if you're a little bit freaky, maybe you might like it. That's the only way I can put it. So, let's have a look at the next one. Well, it's time for the Carro 45T. This tank will be one that I'm sure a few of you will have heard a little bit more about recently. Well, that's because it's going to be available through the Tour of Duty rework. It's going to take approximately 68 days. That is my early maths, and providing everything on the common test is the same, so you can get this tank through another means. So my biggest advice is, if you are looking to pick up a tank, don't pick this thing up, because especially if you're going to be playing the game actively over the spring months, you'll be able to pick yourself up the Carro through the new Tour of Duty rework rather than this. So put your time and effort you've spent on this maneuvers event into another tank. But this tank's interesting. It's another auto reloading gun. It's got the Italian mechanic, so yeah, it's pretty interesting, I guess. I don't know. This tank's just pretty poor. It's not the strongest, but if you're a very good player and you feel like your player skill is higher than average, you may be able to make it work. And yes, it can be really nice in some situations, but its gun can be pretty poor. Its armor is pretty poor. Its mobility's okay. Yeah. To be fair, it just feels kind of average. That's kind of my opinion on it. It's nothing special, that's for sure. So, let's have a look at the E6. Well, here is the T95 E6, the American medium tank reward tank. So, this tank has got a little bit of a reputation within the community for having the highest mark requirements, but the worst mark potential, I guess is probably the way to put it. This tank is severely skill capped. If you're an average player and this is your first time picking up a tank, please don't take the E6, because, on paper, it may look very good. And you may watch players like Daki, Kaizu playing this tank and pulling out ridiculous scores. They are the above average player. They are the top 0.1% of players. And you have to be that good to even have a chance of getting those kind of games. This tank is so severely skill capped because of its cupola, its gun, its armor, it's just general, everything about it. You have to be really good to be able to mitigate its weaknesses, because its weaknesses are so much bigger than most tanks. That cupola is huge. It is like a skyscraper. It can be penned from all angles. It's not like an E5 cupola, sorry. It quite literally can be penned from everywhere. Its gun is troll. Its turret isn't great. It's kind of quick, but it's very long. Its camo's bad. Yeah, overall, this tank just really isn't great. But, maybe if you've already got one or two of the other ones, I'd maybe pick it up, because it can be quite fun. And in the right scenario and in the right game, it can be really, really good. But once again, you do have to be really, really skilled, I feel, to make this tank work, especially consistently. So, let's have a look at the VK. Well, here is the VK7201K. This thing is the reward tank brother of the VK, which is being buffed in the update 1.24.1 patch. And as you can tell, they look very similar. That's because they are very similar. This tank is pretty much a carbon copy, but with a better gun. That's kind of the way to put it. Well, when I say better gun, it's got better penetration, it's got higher alpha, but it's less accurate. So, depends whether you class that as better, but this tank it's a German heavy. It's slow, it's got good armor. Yeah. This thing has some ridiculous damage potential because of its gun. Once again, I feel like you have to be quite skilled to make this tank work, but it definitely does have a lower skill cap than the E6. So maybe if you've already got, one or two of the others, maybe you've picked up the Object 907, I would definitely pick this up as your second choice. This thing is fun. It's one of my most favorite tanks to play. I have it currently sold, but I normally buy it back once or twice a year and I'll play it for a bit because I just find it such a chill tank to play. It really, I don't know, it's comfy. That's just the way to describe it. The gun, when it works and when it hits, is just so nice. It has enough pen to pen almost anything. Yeah, I don't know. It's a German heavy. It's slow. It's rear turreted, so it has a little bit of an awkward kind of play style. But if you can make it work, it's very good and very fun. So, let's have a look at the Object 907. Well, here it is, the Object 907. As you can tell, I have this thing in my garage, and that should tell you something about it. Well, if you've not got any of the other reward tanks, this would be my number one pickup. I would advise it. Especially if you're going to want to be playing, maneuvers into the future, other clan events into the future. This tank is the most meta pick. It is used, and it is becoming increasingly used since the Chieftain and the 279E nerfs, especially more. Oh, more than it used to be. So, this tank is a Russian medium. It's got a similar playstyle to if you kind of mashed the Object 140 and the 430U together. 430U's armor and kind of the 140's gun, but kind of better. This thing's armor model is quite funky. Its gun is okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's quite quick. It's got decent-ish DPM, decent-ish pen. Everything about this tank is decent. Don't get me wrong. It's not incredible. It's not broken. It's not overpowered. It's just a good tank, I guess. It's pretty above average. And, if you are looking for a pickup, definitely pick this thing up. But I must say, this thing is not that great in random battles. If you want a better random battle tank, you'd be better picking yourself up the VK or maybe even the Carro. So, let's have a look at the final tank, the 121B. Well, here it is, the 121B. And I've left this tank for last because it is available through the Bond store. So this is probably a tank a few of you already have. And I would not advise picking up through maneuvers. I feel like there's a lot better use of your time through maneuvers. Obviously, if this is the last tank you have to pick up, pick it up. But please do not take this as your first tank or your second tank or your third tank. Literally your final choice. And if you don't pick it up for bonds in the meantime, because this tank is very good, don't get me wrong. As you can see, I've free marked it. I love this tank. It was one of my most enjoyable marks. I found it really comfy, really fun. It's good in randoms. But I don't know. Why would you spend 2 weeks grinding for a tank through maneuvers when you could just pick it up for, I think it's 12k bonds? Just seems a little bit of a waste of time to me. But that's up to you, I guess. But, I really wouldn't advise getting this thing. Just get it for bonds in the bond store. It's a lot simpler. But, it's a good tank. Its playstyle is kind of similar to that if you combined a 140 with a 430U again. Similar to 907, but with worse armor, a better gun, and better penetration. That's kind of the way to describe it. This thing's gun is really nice. Its heat pen is gorgeous. It's got 360 heat, so that kind of butters most things. And, yeah, I don't know. It's pretty good. But, once again, so we'll summarize now. My number one pick for somebody who wants to go for a tank for, playing it in competitive would be the Object 907. Secondly, the VK7201K. Thirdly, the Carro 45T. And then fifth, I'd take the E6. And then finally, I would pick myself up the 116F3. that's kind of the order that I would go, and then finally the 1-to-1 beat, obviously. But I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you found this useful. I've tried to get this out just before the bond store opens up, so that people, you know, they're going to be putting their auction bids on, they're going to be, you know, picking a tank up, so you're all well informed. And I will see you all in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and goodbye.